Welcome back to my channel. I am back with another review. This review is for Baddies Gone Wild Season 2 DR. So let's just get right into what happened because this episode was wild. So all the baddies end up arriving in the DR and they're put on two separate buses because there are a lot of girls this season. And so I feel like they put certain girls on the bus together because they knew they had beef from the auditions, because Mimi starts introducing herself to the girls on the bus and Milani realizes that this is the girl who jumped in her fight at the audition. So she starts pressing Mimi about it. They both get up out of their seats and they start fighting with each other. And look, I feel like this fight wasn't really a fight because they were holding on to each other's hair and neither one of them would let go. And the angle that they showed this fight from, you couldn't really see who was winning the fight. But from this angle that they showed in this episode, it looked like Mimi had the upper hand on Milani because Milani was kind of lower than Mimi was. Like Mimi was kind of over her. So I feel like she had the advantage and we did see her swing a couple of times, but I can't definitively say that she won because I couldn't really see what was going on. So they start going back and forth with each other and it seemed like Milani wanted to try to dead the issue with Mimi, but Mimi was talking shit. So the two of them got to fighting again, and this time Milani definitely won. But I'll say this, they're trying to fight on this bus and there's no room, so you can't really see what's going on and it feels like they can't really get to each other the way that they want to. They were falling on the floor and banging into seats and everything, but I'll give the win to Milani because from what I saw this round, it looked like Milani had the upper hand. But then Lauren starts questioning Baby Tyson on the bus over an issue that happened outside of the show. Lauren says that Baby Tyson was friends with a girl that she was beefing with, and Baby Tyson ended up fighting one of Lauren's friends. Lauren ended up fighting Baby Tyson's friend. But Lauren says her issue with Baby Tyson is that Baby Tyson and her friend used mace to fight Lauren and her friend. So this is basically like the Big Lex and Fauna situation where Fauna sprayed mace on her hands to get the upper hand in a fight with Big Lex. And if that really is the case, then I don't feel like they're not fighting for a reason. I feel like they have a reason to fight. So they start fighting with each other and honestly both of these two could fight in my opinion from what I was able to see, but it seems like because they're on the bus, we can't really see a fair fight between the two of them. It looked like a tie to me at first, but then Lauren was standing on the chair and she was able to reach down and get the upper hand on Baby Tyson. So I'll say at first it was a tie and then towards the end Lauren definitely won. But then Lauren and Baby Tyson get to fighting again, and this is the second fight between the two of them, even though they end up fighting multiple in this episode. But I feel like Lauren won this round. I don't feel like she won it by a lot because some of her hits did not connect to Baby Tyson, but she did end up getting Baby Tyson in this WWE type chokehold. So I was like, okay, she definitely won this fight, but I want to see them have a fair fight off of the bus because there's no room on the bus. And again, they end up fighting, and this time I'll say they were both hitting each other equally, but I will say that Lauren definitely once again had the upper hand on Baby Tyson because she was standing on the chair. So like I said before, I would like to see them fight off of the bus so I can see who really ends up winning. But then they end up fighting again, and I feel like this time it was a tie, but it wasn't a long fight. This one was really short. But then they fight another round. I'm like, damn, how many rounds are you two gonna fight on this damn bus? But they fight again, and this time I feel like Baby Tyson had the upper hand in the fight, so I'll give the win to her. And it was really because Lauren couldn't really get to Baby Tyson, and I feel like that's why Baby Tyson won. But I like the two of them. Both of them can fight, and the way that they were laughing with each other when they both said that they did not want to pull each other's wigs, I felt like they should be friends with each other. Like, not necessarily best friends, but I think they can be cool in the house. I think they can bury the hatchet and not beef anymore because I think they fought so much on this bus that there's no need for them to fight again. Now, on the other bus, I think it was either Leandra or it was Lulu that ended up asking who has beef with each other, and all of a sudden Minx just reaches over and she snatches up Dava. And honestly, I was a little bit confused at first because obviously I did not watch the auditions for Baddies Gone Wild, so I don't really know the origins of their beefs, but I like that on this show they at least got them in the confessionals telling their sides of the story as to why they're beefing with each other. So at least their fights on this episode make sense because the fights on Bad Boys seem to be a lot forced, so at least on this show they actually have reasons to why they're fighting. But I'm sorry, I feel like on this bus Dava definitely won that fight with Minx in my opinion, and I watched the fights in slow motion a couple of times, and to me Dava was definitely catching Minx all up in her head and face, and so I feel like she won that. I don't think that Minx thought that Dava was going to be able to handle her like that, but she definitely did. But I'm not going to say that Minx just got beat up because she didn't. She was definitely swinging on Dava as well, and I think she caught her in the mouth because I think her mouth was bleeding a little bit. But Dava says the reason why her and Marie Minx were beefing with each other is because they fought each other at the auditions, and and Dava claims that she thought that her and Marie Minksss ended up deading their beef after the reunion was over, but then Minksss allegedly ended up going on social media and talking bad about Dava's husband, so that's the reason why they ended up fighting in this episode. And I don't agree with people doing that. I don't feel like you should be talking about people's husbands, wives, their children, their family members. I think all people outside of the show should be left out of any beef that they have. But I don't know how to feel about Dava, because why was she dry humping the security guard like that when she was trying to get to Marie Minksss? Like, that was a little bit weird to me. I was a little bit uncomfortable to watch. I know some people laughed about it, but it made me feel a little icky. But on the bus, they start asking Leandra what she went to prison for, and she said that she ended up trying to smuggle drugs into the UK, and she ended up getting caught, and said that she was in prison for 19 months, and as soon as she got out of prison, she ended up going to the Baddies auditions, and she ended up getting casted. So I'd say she was in the right place at the right time. Hopefully she doesn't end up doing something stupid like that again, and I hope that she uses this opportunity to be on this show to her advantage. But then the girls start being messy because somebody on the bus, I don't know who it was, ended up saying that she heard that girls in jail like Leandra have smelly coochies, and Leandra decided to play into the messiness and say that she heard that some of the girls on the other bus have smelly coochies, and they tried to press her about who she was talking about, and at first she wouldn't say it. Like, she really was not trying to say who she was talking about, but I feel like if she wasn't going to be bold enough to say who she was talking about, she shouldn't have made the comment to begin with. So they keep pressing her, and she ends up whispering it to some of the girls, and she makes them promise not to tell the girls that she said it, and she says that it's Lauren. She claims that Lauren has a smelly coochie, and honestly, I was not a fan of her making this comment because, number one, we don't know if it's true, and number two, maybe she did have one off day where Leandra was around her somehow, and she ended up smelling her, and that was just maybe one time that happened, and so I just don't feel like it's right for her to make that comment about Lauren, because now this is a comment that people are going to be using against Lauren this season, and I'm not a fan of that because, number one, like I said before, we don't know if it's true, and it just seems catty and nasty. So even though I think that Leandra is really pretty and soft-spoken from what we're able to see in this episode, I don't know how I feel about her because of this comment she made about Lauren. And then to me, Leandra was being kind of stupid, because why would you even tell these girls and believe them when they say that they're not going to go back and tell what you said when you don't know these girls? So how could you trust them that they won't go back and tell what you said? But as soon as they pull up to this new Baddies Gone Wild house, they start to fight immediately. I mean, 2 fights break out right away. Naz and Kay get to fighting with each other, and then Dava and Minx get to fighting with each other. And look, Kay took Naz through there, okay? She definitely whooped her. I was not expecting Naz to actually fight back, though, because to me, she doesn't look like a fighter, and she doesn't look like somebody who will fight back, but she was trying to fight back, but Kay definitely whooped her. I'm sorry. And the reason for Kay and Naz fighting is because they got into it at the auditions. But then Lauren and Baby Tyson start fighting again at the same time, and Lauren won to me, but Baby Tyson definitely gets in there. And then Dava and Minx start fighting again, and I'm sorry, this time Minx definitely won. I mean, she was popping Dava all up in her face. Like, she popped her multiple times. I was like, damn, maybe Dava should have just left Minx alone and took the W that she got when they were fighting on the bus, because to me, Dava won when they were on the bus, but once they got off the bus, Minx definitely took Dava through there, and she won. So then Mimi and Alana start fighting with each other, and Mimi did try to swing, but Alana definitely took her through there too. Alana was definitely whooping Mimi. Mimi tried, but she definitely lost. And the reason why they're beefing is because they got into a fight at the auditions as well. So all of these girls are beefing with each other because of fights that they had with each other at the audition. So they're basically settling the score. So to me, their fights are not forced. But Mimi and Alana get to fighting again, and this time Mimi definitely got whooped, and her nose was bleeding and everything. Natalie walks in, and she sees the girls looking crazy after their fight. She starts looking at Mimi's face, and she starts asking her if she's okay, because Mimi looked tore up. Like, Alana definitely took her through there. And I guess Dava was trying to impress Natalie, so she decided to press Minx again to fight, which I don't understand why, because that last round they just had, Dava definitely got whooped by Minx, but they start fighting again, and this time Minx definitely pops her in the nose, and her nose starts bleeding, and I'm like, damn. Not only is her mouth bleeding, but then her nose is bleeding, and then she has a knot on her head, and I'm like, damn, maybe she should have not done this in front of Natalie, because she didn't actually win if she was trying to impress Natalie. Alana and Mimi start fighting again, even though Natalie tells them not to fight because she has some things to tell them, and it's because Mimi starts popping it to Alana, which I don't understand why, because her face was already messed up, but then she ends up getting popped again by Alana. I'll say this, at least Mimi will get out there, and she's not necessarily scary from what we saw in this episode, but she needs to stop trying to press Alana, because every time she presses Alana, she gets whooped. But before the girls are able to go in the house, Natalie ends up breaking down the house rules. She tells them to keep the house clean, don't throw things, don't break things, and she tells them that there's a phone room and a confessional room. And I love the idea of them adding the phone room because on Bad Girls Club, some of the most iconic moments happen in those phone rooms, so I'm definitely glad that they did that for this show. She also tells them that the fans will be voting every week like they did last season, and that the winner will get a cash prize anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000. And she also tells them that she'll be giving out Baddies Gone Wild chains. I hope the fans do the right thing this time like we did last time, because last time Bahati definitely deserved to win that money, and I hope we do the same thing this time. But Natalie ends up asking Mimi if she's okay before they go in the house, and Alana starts joking around saying that Mimi needs a medic, and so Alana and Mimi start going back and forth with each other, but they do not let them fight because Mimi's face is already messed up. She does not need to get popped again by Alana, but she starts saying that Alana's a lot bigger than her, and when I'm seeing them standing next to each other, I'm not seeing that much of a size difference. I mean, Mimi is a little bit skinnier than Alana, but to me, there's not that much of a difference. But the girls finally end up going into the house and they start picking their rooms, and the names are already listed on the door, so their rooms are already picked for them. And Minx, Becky, and Mimi are supposed to share a room with each other, and Minx and Becky like each other, so they want to share a room, but they're not feeling Mimi being in the room with them. And Minx claims that the reason why she doesn't want Mimi in the room with them is because she got beat up and she got cuts all over her and everything like that. And so she ends up taking her name and moving it to the living room door, which I thought was lame, because it's like, if you don't want her in the room, at least let her come in the room and you guys can talk about it, and maybe one of the girls will willingly switch rooms. But to just take her name and put it on another door, to me, was crazy. But when we watched Bad Girls Club, we saw things like this happen too, so it wasn't really surprising to me. I just wasn't really a fan of it. But I loved the energy between Lauren and G Baby when they found out that they were sharing a room, because these girls don't know each other, they're just now meeting each other. But the way that they hugged and embraced and fell on the floor with each other and they were laughing and hugging, I loved that energy between them, and hopefully they have like a sisterhood this season. I know it's hard to actually make a real friend on this show, but hopefully the two of them could be cool, because this was a cute moment between them. I mean, so far nobody had an issue with who they had to share a room with except Minx and Becky. So Minx and Becky end up finding Naz, and they tell her that she can sleep where Mimi was supposed to sleep because they don't want her in their room. So Naz ends up gladly taking the spot, and so Mimi's looking around trying to figure out which room she's supposed to sleep in. They point her to the room where she was supposed to be in, and she starts asking where her name is, and that's when Minx and Becky starts telling her that they put her name on the door in the living room. So Mimi and Minx start going back and forth with each other, and Mimi ends up calling Minx a big bully bitch because she feels like what she did was bullying, because if she really had a problem with her sharing that room, they could have talked about it instead of her just taking her name and putting it on the living room door. But they start telling her that it shouldn't be a big deal because she can sleep in Naz's room, but that was something that had to be agreed upon between Naz and Mimi, not just Naz deciding to take Mimi's spot. So then Dava starts getting involved in defense of Mimi because she feels like Minx is being a bully. And we know that Dava already doesn't like Minx, so it was easy for her to be in defense of Mimi. And Dava starts going at Naz because she feels like Naz is just as bad as Becky and Minx because she took Mimi's spot without even asking Mimi if it was okay. And I mean, I agree. I definitely do feel like Naz should have went to Mimi and asked her if it was okay if they switched the rooms. I really don't think that Mimi would have minded that, because I don't feel like she would have fit in a room with Becky and Minx anyway. And if Becky and Minx would have told Mimi that they really didn't want to share a room with her, I think Mimi would have up and moved on her own, because I don't think she would want to sleep next to two girls that don't like her and don't want her there, because you never know what they're going to do to your stuff or do to you while you're sleeping. So everybody's arguing about this whole situation because most of the girls think that Minx and Becky were wrong for what they did to Mimi, moving her room to the living room. And so Lauren starts trying to figure out who exactly moved Mimi's name from the door, and everybody says that it was Minx. So Lauren and Minx start going back and forth with each other, and Lauren says that she feels like Minx is a bully. But Lauren already had an issue with Minx because she said that on the bus the other day, she was singing her song and Minx started booing her, and obviously she felt some type of way about that because she doesn't even know Minx, so she doesn't know if Minx is joking or not. But I feel like Lauren was overly pressing Minx because she wanted an issue, because when Minx told her that she didn't have an issue with her and that wasn't her intentions for why she was booing, I feel like Lauren could have left it alone. But I didn't have an issue with Lauren pressing Minx because I think that Minx was doing entirely too much with the way that she moved Mimi's name from the door door. I just felt like she was doing too much and she was trying to be another Daisy. So Lauren and Minx start fighting with each other, and at first I think it's a tie because the both of them are hitting each other, but then I do feel like Minx had a little bit of the upper hand on Lauren. But then once the fight was broken up between the two of them, Minx immediately uses what Leandra said about, you know, Lauren's coochie allegedly stinking against her in this fight, and I just did not like that, and that's why I wasn't a fan of what Leandra said about Lauren, because it's like now the other girls are going to use this against Lauren. So the episode cuts there, but when we see the next fight, it looks like Lauren was definitely getting in there with Minx. It looked like she won the fight. I don't know because it was just a clip, but it looked like Lauren was getting her, and honestly, I hope she does, because using what Leandra said about Lauren against her in this fight, to me, was not cool. So far, I like Lauren. She's definitely my favorite. I will wait to see how I feel about the other girls later on in the season or maybe in the next episode, but so far, I'm really liking Lauren, and I like Baby Tyson too, even though we weren't able to see that much of her personality in this episode. So those are my thoughts on this week's episode of Baddies Gone Wild. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video.